Hello from North Carolina, and welcome to our 23rd live session. Close this out here. I can't believe it's been 23 sessions. And I'm a little discombobulated this morning, but that's okay. So our plan, as always, is to go live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to share fashion industry news from the previous week. If you are team replay or team live, let us know if you are joining and where you are joining from by commenting below. And that is my cue to switch up my banner here. So for those of you who are joining a little after our start time, you have a little prompt there. So again, just let us know in the comments if you're team live or if you are team replay, and again, where you're joining from. So my name is Rosalinda Cruz, and I am the founder and chief business development officer of the ASOR Collective, where we help underrepresented leaders in fashion with strategic planning and advising. Our mission is to support a more diverse and inclusive, sustainable fashion industry by filling the leadership and ownership gaps in the apparel supply chain. So on these lives, I try to reconcile my love of fashion and retail with my values around sustainability, diversity, and inclusion. And I try to advocate for supply change as well as raise buyer awareness. So my goal is really to, as much as possible, just get out of the silo effect and work across sectors in the fashion industry to create solution-based conversation versus hair-splitting debates. So that is that. I'm gonna switch to my next slide there. There we go. So in our time together, I try to cover all of these things. So announcements, any planning, PSAs, North Carolina news, product services, workforce, and then the green carpet. And the green carpet is where I talk about brands, concepts, and processes that are being called to the proverbial carpet. So if you guys are joining us live, I added in the comment a link to our YouTube channel. So again, we are trying to reach a goal of 100 subscribers, and we could use all the help we can get. So I added the link below, so you feel free to click that link and hit that subscribe button. And I'm trying to bring up the comments here in case we have people joining, so I can pull those little suckers right up onto the screen. I'm also going to take a swig of water from my glass. All right. So let's get into it. All right. Announcements and planning PSAs. So this week, on Wednesday, actually, is our executive roundtable. You know that I host those on a monthly basis. The first month of every quarter, we meet with our core group, which effectively has representatives from just about every link in the apparel value chain. So we are going to be meeting on Wednesday to kind of reflect on first quarter business and talk about what the opportunities are for the second quarter. And one of the things that we're actually going to be talking about is B2B digital presence and the sales opportunity within digital for B2B, as well as talking about trends within retail. So I am really, really excited to get together with that group. And other good news, on Wednesday, it's our birthday. And by birthday, I mean anniversary, but the ASOR Collective is turning 4 years old on Wednesday. So I am super excited about that. We have a newsletter that's going out to our subscribers later today, and it's going to have a little background story on, why and how I I started this business, and basically when I turned in my burnout badge and decided to take that leap into entrepreneurship. So that'll be exciting, and I'll be, sharing some more information over the next coming weeks. So today, the other thing that I'm going to be talking about today, more in the green carpet, but I feel like it's very fitting that it's being talked about, during our anniversary week. But really, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was what the cost of showing up is and taking up space. So stay tuned for the green carpet, or if you are watching the replay, feel free to fast forward and just get to the green carpet. And anything else? I think that's it for news. In terms of planning PSAs, check out the post that I sent out last week around the in the coming weeks post, and it gives like a really great breakdown of where you should be in your planning cadence. So. Next in North Carolina news. So this week, today actually is day one of the Raleigh Durham Startup Week, which is the first ever startup week here, which seems so crazy given that we are in RTP, which is a retail. Ugh. My goodness, goes to show you where my head is this morning. The Research Triangle Park. And for those of you who don't know, Research Triangle Park is the largest tech hub outside of Silicon Valley. So I'm so surprised that this is going to be our first startup week. But in any case, that's going to be super exciting. And I will be volunteering with them. So if you are there, be sure to look for me. Super excited about seeing people. I feel like this is going to be my first in-person event in a long time. In other North Carolina news, pop-up box. All right. So there is applications are open for pop-up box. They are looking for 3 entrepreneurs are going to have the opportunity to take up a 4-month residency inside one of Boxyard's 320 square foot shipping containers. And that again is located in Research Triangle Park and is a great opportunity. I'm switching it up here. Yes. All right. Industry news. So I got to take another sip of water. All right. Much better. Okay. So in industry news, this is actually super exciting, but Fresh Fly and Fabulous, a 50 years of hip hop style is an exhibit that's going to be on display at the FIT Museum starting February 2023. Professor Elena Romero interviews Dapper Dan, which will be included in that exhibit. So I am looking forward to that. In other good news, Kimberly Jenkins of the Fashion and Race Database is back, and she also has some great news. So I don't know if you guys recall, but back in February, I had talked about this a bit on one of my lives, but she had mentioned that she was going to be taking a break just due to funding issues, but also just, exhaustion from the emotional labor that's involved in doing this kind of work. So the good news is that the Fashion and Race Database has partnered with Tommy Hilfiger, and they are bringing you a new podcast that's called The Invisible Seam: Unsung Stories of Black Culture and Fashion. So that is super exciting. Their first episode is going to be on Thursday. It says Thursday, April 20th, but I feel like that's Wednesday. So I'm not sure if it's going to be Thursday the 21st or Wednesday the 21st. In any case, you follow them on social media or go to their website, you will get you'll be able to get information about that podcast. So yay, I'm super excited to tune into that and to see that great partnership with them and Tommy Hilfiger. Oh yes, product news. Didn't really have much in product news, or in service news, to be honest. One thing that I guess in workforce news. So this is Fashion Revolution Week. So Fashion Revolution Week, I think it runs through Saturday, I believe. But this year's theme is fashion is money, fashion, and power. So one of the things that I also wanted to mention is that Fashion Revolution, they are kind of behind the Who Made My Clothes campaign. And I feel like we have been seeing a lot of those signs popping up. But this year, the focus is really more on money, fashion, and power. And one of the things that they're going to be exploring this week with their global community, because they do have a global presence, is how the mainstream fashion industry is built on the exploitation of labor and natural resources. So part of their campaign is really demanding better for people and the planet. So on a similar note, last week I actually attended a virtual workshop that was absolutely mind-blowing. It was about fighting systemic racism, and individualism in sustainable fashion. So one of the things, I mean, there was like so many gems dropped, but one of the things that that I found really interesting is that one of the first questions was, how do you define sustainability? And there were just some beautiful responses, but I can't remember who said it, but somebody was like, also, it's a verb, not a noun. So I thought that was really important to call out. But the other thing, that I wanted to mention is that one of the things that they talked about is like what kind of questions you should be asking yourself as a consumer. And even just as a professional, but just thinking about, right, how much agency do the people who make your clothes have, right? Another really great question that came out was about exclusion and how people feel about either, being excluded from, conversations in fashion and in sustainability. And Dominique Drakeford, actually, her response was brilliant, which was basically like, Black and Indigenous people are the blueprint for sustainability and fashion. So end of story, right? So I thought it was just a great reminder, to be perfectly honest. And part of the reason, and I talk about this often, but part of the reason that I started this business was because I saw the lack of diversity within the sustainable fashion industry, and I just kept on scratching my head. And just hearing this statement from her really helped me like further connect those dots. So thank you to Dominique. And what else do we got here? We're at the green carpet. Yay! So the green carpet, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but the green carpet is where I'm not calling people out, where I talk about brands, concepts, and processes that are being called to the proverbial carpet. So we know that there's no shortage of ethical dilemmas within the fashion industry. And I just talked about one of them. A lot of siloed discussion, infighting from farmers, manufacturers, vendors, academia, brands, journalists, activists, you name it, right? and the gatekeepers, so many freaking gatekeepers. It can be pretty intense. But one of the things that I want to do is really invite people in to have a conversation, right? Where we are listening for understanding and open to, to dialogue. So, um, I also want to own the fact that I've been in the industry for 30 years. Can't believe it. Um, and I don't know anything, and I get things wrong sometimes, but it's really impossible to know everything. So please bear with me, right, as I actively practice calling people in versus calling them out. So again, just bear with me through that. And again, like the whole concept around calling people in versus calling them out um, really came to me from Professor Loretta Ross, who's a professor at Smith College, and also I think I mentioned this last week, but she's giving the commencement speech at my alma mater, Hampshire College. So yay. And again, the goal of the green carpet and just these conversations in general is to get out of right the silo effect and work across sectors within the fashion industry to create solution-based conversation versus hair splitting debate, right? So well, I think that we definitely have to be more comfortable speaking the truth, right? Whether it fills the room or it clears it out. So today, I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the cost of showing up and what does asking for help look like and what role community plays. And while this isn't necessarily a topic that is specific or unique to the fashion industry or even sustainable fashion, I think that it is a super important conversation, especially given that we are still experiencing the great resignation. People are still, they're dropping like flies with good reason, with good reason. But one of the things that I wanted to acknowledge is just, and I think I mentioned this during last week's live, is the last couple of weeks has been tough, right? Um, have been tough. I have had some personal things happening in my life. You guys know that, or a lot of you know that I'm the full-time caretaker of my dad, who has dementia, who is my resident Zoom bomber. But there have been so many things that have been coming up, and the last couple of weeks, I have been forcing myself to show up, right? And the first week, it's happened a couple of times, let's be honest. But the first time it happened was probably about 3 weeks ago. And I remember asking myself, like, man, what is the cost of showing up? I think that we have to strike a balance between sometimes we just need to give ourselves a little bit of a push, right? Whether it's to get out of bed, to put on that lipstick or fluff your hair, whatever it is, that makes you feel great and show up fully. But sometimes I feel like we are, we force ourselves to give more than we can absolutely give. So I want to acknowledge that, even though this is a weekly show and my intention is to show up at 10 o'clock every Tuesday morning and give you about 30 minutes of the news, I'm not going to show up sometimes, right? I am going to be prioritizing my own mental health and my physical health and that of my loved one over this, because in the end, it doesn't really matter, right? I wanted to say that. But there was something else that I want you to take some notes. But another thing that's been happening kind of in the last couple of weeks, And I honestly want to say that it's been happening since I left corporate America, right? And started on this journey of entrepreneurship, right? But one of the questions that I have been asking myself as I am meeting new people and joining new spaces and even working with new people is, do I belong here, right? And not only like, do I belong here, but does this space deserve me, right? And I don't think that enough people are asking themselves those questions, but making sure that you are surrounding yourself with people who not only appreciate you but celebrate you, um and also people who are going to amp you up right when you need it, and also speak the truth when you mess up. So um one of the things that I love about communities is that depending on what community you're part of, you can get all of that, right? And I am lucky enough to have joined a really, really great community. From the which is actually run by Liz Jade Simpson, but it is the BMM accelerator, and it is, I swear, the best. I was like, I don't even know what else to say. It's like the absolute best, but it is the realest, baddest, most loving group of incredible, high achieving, goal crushing women who honor themselves, who prioritize self care, and aren't afraid to speak the truth. They have been so supportive in this journey, and I highly encourage you. Whether you are, still living that 9 to 5 life, whether you are in entrepreneurship, um, or even just a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home caretaker, seek out community that's going to help lift you up, right? And also, one of the things that I actually really liked about being part of this community is really, one of the things that I've learned is what asking for help looks like, right? And sometimes it is more in that traditional sense of asking for help. But another thing that I actually have been doing with my clients is helping them understand when first hires need to be made, right? And sometimes that's in the form of a virtual assistant or an online business manager, but sometimes it's also in the form of a dog walker, right? Or a housekeeper, or a handyman or a house manager, or whatever it looks like. But sometimes asking for help means hiring for that help, so that you can give yourself more capacity, and and use that time and how you see fit. So um what else did I wanted to say about that? I think that's about it. The other thing, and I'm probably going to be diving into this in one of our newsletters too, but also sort of in this theme of like what the cost of showing up is. I want to revisit this theme of retail made me do it, and that was something that was, I think it was actually a hashtag that was trending on TikTok last year, and on other social media channels. But one of the things that was really wasn't it is concerning about the industry is that it is kind of notorious for sort of chewing people up and spitting them out. But it's also, my experience has also been is that it can be a really supportive and loving community. I've had some of my most incredible experiences sort of in retail, whether it is in the fitting room with customers or just support of coworkers, and it can be a really, really beautiful thing. But again, I want to talk about some of the challenges within retail, and a lot of that is the cost of showing up. Right? What happens if you don't show up for your shift? So we'll dive into that a little bit more. But I am ready for my coffee because I skipped my coffee this morning. I hate when I do that. But in any case, more on that. Stay tuned for the newsletter. If you guys stuck through the end, bless you, because this was a toughie. But in any case, we're going to the next slide here. Do I have another one after this? Yes. I'll go back here. So I know my alarm's going off in a few minutes, but I'm pulling the plug on this one, people. Pulling the plug on this one. But just to recap, newsletter is going to be going out. Planning cadence, if you didn't see that, last week's post, definitely check that out. Our executive roundtable is happening on Wednesday, and it's our anniversary, our 4-year anniversary. So yay to that. Our mission, right? Our mission is to support a more diverse and inclusive sustainable fashion industry by filling the leadership and ownership gaps in the apparel supply chain. Our plan is to go live every Tuesday, for the most part, at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everybody, for all of your incredible support, and we will see you next week. Bye.